Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Internado. We're brought to you by Higher Echelon, as always, and we appreciate Higher Echelon sponsoring our podcast. We're going to review Army's 29-24 win over UTSA at home. The Black Knights finished the regular season 6-0 at home, 10-1 right now, and they clinched the home game in the AAC championship against Tulane on Friday night. And it's going to be colder on Friday night than it was at Michie Stadium today, where the temperatures were, it might have got to 35 today, guys. I think 35 might have been the high today. And, pregame was rough for me, but, doesn't matter. The Black Knights won, and it was a hard-earned win today. It's a game that they had to pull out in the fourth quarter, which we haven't seen many of those games at home. I think actually I have my notes. I wrote on my stat sheet on the back of these notes. The first 5 games at home, Army outscored opponents 188-62. Well, today they had a game. They had a game to play in the fourth quarter. They had a game to pull out in the fourth quarter, and the offense did their share in the fourth quarter. The defense really stepped up today. Can't say enough about the defense. The 2 interceptions. The fourth down stand, just the defense. Seth, you said the defense kind of won them the game today, and certainly they did the lion's share today. They did a great job. We have Seth Mendelson from Black Knight Nation. We have Cuthbert for SSN Army, and we have Brendan in Jersey joining us tonight. Guys, if you're watching, please send in your comments and questions to us. We'll post them. We'll answer them. And we got a home game now on a Friday night at Michie Stadium for Army in its first year in this AAC, and they've regular season champions, if that's a thing. Is that a thing, guys? Regular season champions in the AAC? I think it is, right? Brendan?
They announced it on the board when the game was over, so I guess it's a thing. But I don't know. I don't think that gets you a trophy.
That doesn't get up on Michie. You're not going to put that on Michie, regular season AAC champs. But hey, good for them. 8-0 in the conference says a lot. We'll get some opening thoughts here, and we'll take off. Seth, you were at the game with me. Fire away.
Well, first of all, even in the press box, it was pretty cold. They have the window open to accommodate the CBS camera, so we're freezing up there. And it's not as cold there as it is in the stands, and people seem to be very cold. Listen, I agree with you. This is a tough stretch here. Army, starting with North Texas and going through the rest of the season. Army's playing their best teams, the best teams in the AAC. Of course, Notre Dame last week. We have Tulane coming up. We have Navy coming up in a bowl game. We don't know who that's against. And so it's a little bit different, the competition, than we saw early on. I'm just very impressed with the fact that they pulled the game out. UTSA is a good team. They have a good quarterback that Army kind of stymied. Did not score. They've been scoring at least 44 points a game for the last 4 games. They beat up some good teams, Memphis and most recently. I was just impressed that we won the game, and I'll say it's because of Bryson Daly again and what he does. And like you said, what I said is the defense was incredible. The bend don't break. The 2 interceptions stopped drives that would have resulted in points, maybe a game-ending touchdown, for a winning touchdown for the Roadrunners. And then one before that, they had the fumble recovery, and of course they had the fourth down stand on the 16-yard line that Coach Munkin said he would have done too. So those 4 things, and just a general, playing, to me was I was very impressed with what I saw today.
For those who didn't see the game, it wasn't on the Army 16-yard line. It was on the UTSA 16-yard line. They decided to go for it for whatever reason, and that kind of opened the doors a little bit for Army. The Army scored a touchdown after they stopped them, and then the Army scored again, gave himself a little bit of cushion there, and it was enough to pull out the win. Cuthbert, your opening comments.
I think the story of the game was the UTSA defense. They showed up ready to play. They were well prepped. They were motivated. I tweeted out in the middle of the game that they were aggressive and hungry for violence. And I think the Army offense met them head on. A tip of the cap to them, the way they were clogging up the middle. we're getting very little done in the run game, both up the middle and on the edges. But I think we hung with the run game just enough as much as we needed to open up the passing game. Daly goes for 190, beautiful touchdown to T-Rob on the first drive. I really think that was, the story of the game was UTSA had a game plan to stop us. We had a game plan to adjust if our sort of typical plan doesn't work. And it was a dogfight, man. And I thought it was a great game. I think it was a great win. I think you could almost say this is sort of a season-saving win. I mean, we very easily could have gone 0-4 down this back stretch. UTSA, Seth, you said it. A lot was made about them playing in the Alamo Dome, but they are a very good team, and they are coming on late. And we got Tulane, not going to be an easy game. Navy, coin flip in the best of times, and then obviously a bowl game. So this win cannot be overstated, in my opinion. I thought it was a fantastic win. Team effort, offense, defense, start to finish.
Before we get to Brendan, real quick, the line for the Tulane game is out at Army is getting 3.5 points at home in that game right now to open. That's the opening line against Tulane on Friday night. Just to get that out there, Brendan, your opening remarks, thoughts.
So I would say, had Army lost, the story of the game would have been the man is wide open and the pass is too late. Because honestly, I got to the stadium late. I missed the opening touchdowns for both teams, but I noticed that there were about 4 plays in the first half where Army had a receiver wide open, and if Daly could have hit him, it would have been a touchdown. So this game very easily could have been like 24-7 Army at halftime, in which case it would have been probably much more like every other Army home game so far this season. That being the case, it was I don't know if it was quite the cardiac cadets of old, but it was certainly an all hands on deck, 5-alarm fire kind of win where everybody's got to pitch in their buckets or the ship's going down. And it ended up being a lot of fun, especially in the fourth quarter. Although I think, and I'm sure other people will bring it up, but probably my favorite moment of the game, and I don't remember how Larkin ended up coming out, whether if he had a helmet knocked off or what, but Colin Madison goes in to replace him. UTSA tries to attack him, and immediately he picks up the ball and is all of a sudden taking it back past the 50s. So those are really the moments that make you love college football, is somebody out of nowhere getting in and making a huge play and making a huge difference in the game. I mean, if not for there was an exchange of fumbles in the second quarter near halftime that kind of, one phased out the other. It didn't really make a difference, but the 2 interceptions late in the game for Army, if they don't get those, I don't think they probably win.
Yeah, a couple unsung heroes for Army. Definitely Colin Matson. He came up, talking to Coach Monken at the press conference. Him and Gavin Shields. Gavin Shields got a hand on the Casey Larkin interception. Those are the 2 backup safeties for Army. Those are the guys that play behind Casey Larkin and Max DiDomenico. They get snaps every once in a while, but they don't play too much. Shields a little bit more than Matson, and man, what a difference those plays make. And when you talk to Monken about Colin Matson, he said that he wasn't sure that he was even going to be a player last year at this time. He wasn't sure he was going to be on the team. He just didn't look like he was going to be able to contribute with the team. And now with hard work, this is not the first story of Army, a player like this. It won't be the last. These guys who come up through the ranks and maybe work their way up through the scout team, and then they are able to make a difference during the game. Trey Granati with 3 field goals today is really key. He came into the game with 5 on the season. He kicked 3 today. He almost had a 4th. He kicked it a little bit wide left on that 47-yarder. It looked like he had the leg on it. He just missed it wide left. But Army certainly didn't help him with getting that ball closer at the end, their last drive. I mean, they got the first down with Bryson Daly with a little under 3 minutes left on a fourth down. I think it was a 4th and 1 run. I could be wrong there. And then 3 plays netted basically nothing. And you had to line up for a 47-yard field goal. You're trying to run out the clock. You get one more first down, the game is over. You get one more first down, the game is over. They could not move the ball against UTSA's defense. And, they put Granati in a tough spot. If the field goal goes in, it's an 8-point lead. And then, UTSA has to go down the field and score a touchdown +2. But they left the door open for UTSA. And Army's defense, not the smartest thing to get a penalty, called an unsportsmanlike penalty on that last drive to give UTSA 15 extra yards. Not very good, in that situation, but the bend don't break. I always think in these situations, guys, that Army's defense is going to make a play now. I just feel like they're going to make a play on defense to save the day. I mean, it seems like they do it a lot. I mean, they have 16 interceptions now in their secondary, on their defense. And I mean, it seems like I'm like, okay, I'm sitting in the stands waiting to be allowed on the field when the clock hits 0. And I'm like, something's going to happen. They're going to survive here. And now they have a home game to play against Tulane on Friday night. And man, just a great way to finish for them. Let's get to Steve Miller real quick. Not real quick. Let's get to Steve. Steve says it was a great game. Our guys stayed at it against a fierce defense, and our D was lights out at critical times. Felt like it was touch and go. Yeah, it was teetering, right? Seth, that game was like you weren't sure what was going to happen. And I think that, Army getting that field goal at the end of the half certainly helped out. It's a big difference between a 5-point lead and a 2-point lead late in the game, and then maybe UTSA only needing a field goal to win. So, I mean, that was critical. And, can't say really enough about Bryson Daly. I think Coach Munkin's even running out of ways to describe his play. He's the lifeblood of this team. And, I mean, I thought somewhere in my head today, I'm like, is he going to go for 200 and 200 today? He didn't get close in rushing. He got 147. He got 190 in the passing game, but 3 off his career high in passing. And when they needed plays, they were there. They got the chunk plays today, guys. They got some chunk plays today that they necessarily haven't been getting against. They didn't get them against Air Force. They certainly did not get chunk plays against Notre Dame today, but they were able to get some. Daly had a 42-yard run, right? 41-yard touchdown pass, and there were some key passes for first downs that were, 15, 20 yards to Casey Reynolds. So the offense kind of did what they had to do to win. So I don't know. Go ahead.
I totally agree. I mean, they made the plays they had to make. A couple of key passes to Noah Short and to help me
Reynolds.
Casey Reynolds. Let's say Larkin. I know it wasn't Larkin. Casey Reynolds made a big difference. The field goal attempts, the field goals were great. You and I talked during the game about trying a field goal early on when they went for it on 4th and didn't get it. That would have helped too if they would, but they didn't. Thank God they didn't need it. This is a tough team, a good team, better than their record, 6-6. UTSA is, but they're better. They've come on strong in the second half of the year. And we beat them, and there's something to be said about that. So,
I don't know if I really want to talk about what happened on when they didn't get that 4th down instead of going for a field goal. I think I better keep my comments to myself because I don't know. That's a 3rd down play where they had Hayden Reed open, right, and they didn't throw it to Hayden Reed, and Bryson kept it instead, and then on 4th down they didn't get it. Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, it worked out. It all worked out, and ready for an exciting finish. And even with Trey missing that field goal that would have put us up by 8, it made it more exciting, and it worked out. And to your point, in years past, I can think back to the Hawaii game years ago, and other games where we had a chance to win, by a big defensive play, and the guy dropped the interception, or the guy got the first down, or there was a penalty that enabled. In this case, they didn't drop the interception. Yes, we had that key penalty, and that could have hurt. We were all worried. You were downstairs by then in the press box. We're all like, uh-oh, That's 15 more yards, puts them at what, the 35 or so, give or take.
It moved them across midfield.
Yeah, so they're moving, and there's time left, and the quarterback, they got a good quarterback. We were all worried, and then the very next play, I think it was the next play, maybe 2 plays later, we come up with the interception that ended the game. So it could have been heartbreaking, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was thinking of that first drive of Army when they went for it on 4th down 3 times and they got it. Bryson got the first one. Noah Short got the next 2 on a pass play and a run play, and they got Noah Short a little bit more involved in the offense today, catching passes, running on the edge. The edge was a little bit of a stretch today. They just couldn't get that going with big gash plays. Noah picked up a couple first downs on some edge runs, but they couldn't really get those gash plays on the outside today. It was a struggle. Tyrell Robinson, what we said, 5 carries for 8 yards, something like that. It was tough. It was very tough. And, I hate, this is a great win. And now they got their game at Tulane, right? And here I am, dark cloud, saying, we said it last week. I'll say it again this week. And I don't understand why they don't get Kane Udo the ball more early in the game. It's just, to me, Bryson is they came out throwing on 1st down in the game. They threw an incomplete pass. That was a shock to me. I thought maybe Bryson would get the ball, but man, this guy, 7 carries for 16 yards or whatever Kanye had today. Yes, it was tough running in the middle. There's ways that he can bounce. He can run plays where he can bounce the ball outside. He has speed to bounce the ball outside, but I guess UTSA's defense was just too good today to get him going. But it's just, Cuthbert, I gotta stop. Help me out here.
Well, I think you and I may be on different sides of the coin here in terms of our offensive plan today. Again, credit to UTSA for stopping up the run. I think one of the biggest thing that I saw, apart from their ability to just clog the middle, was anytime we were trying to work to the edge on like a midline option or a pitch, their safeties were crashing so hard. And it felt like, at least, and I haven't gone back and watched the game, so I don't know how many times this happened. It felt like they were coming through our wall of blockers untouched. I mean, they would literally be cutting between 2 or 3 guys who we had. And I'm sitting there, basically yelling at my TV going, if someone can just get an arm up and just give a push to a shoulder just to throw them off course by a foot, then maybe instead of being a no gain or a half a yard loss, maybe it'll be a 3-yard gain. And if it's a 3-yard gain, that's keeping us on schedule. That's what we need. That's what we need to have. So sort of last week after the Notre Dame game, we're talking about how are we not picking up the backside, rusher who's come in and catching, daily from behind. I'm looking now at our runs on the outside going, I know we can't chop anymore, but can we do something? Can we have somebody, even if you're just jumping, with the intention of pushing them in the chest, just to get them off course, and then you can let whoever it is who's getting the ball, whether it's Short or whether it's T-Rob or whoever, you can then let them do a little work. I have been clamoring on week after week about making sure that I don't want this just to be Daly runs the ball and that's the offense. Yeah. He had 27 rushes today. That's still more than I would like to see, but it's better than whatever he had against Notre Dame, 39 or 37. Yeah, 39. I mean, that's not sustainable at all. I was happy to see Jake Rendina and Hayden Reed get a couple carries. It wasn't particularly productive. Again, tip of the cap to UTSA on the interior. But, I want to see Udo with more than 7 rushes, honestly. I mean, Noah Short ran the ball 14 times today, which is a lot more than I would have expected for him. You know what I mean? But, all in all, I think top to bottom, I was very happy, honestly. I mean, it's rose-colored glasses. We got the win. We scored the points when we needed to. We held the ball when we needed to. We had the explosive plays, like you said. We had 28, 27, 41, 29-yard pass plays. Daly with the 42-yard touchdown run. So we did enough offensively, so that makes me feel like the plan worked. Whether that plan will hold up against Tulane, we'll see. I don't know. But all in all, I thought we adjusted to UTSA's superior defense. I thought we adjusted to it well. I mean, 10 for 17 for 190 yards and a touchdown. That's not expected from Army football, but I'll take it.
Yeah, 17 pass attempts is certainly a lot. In a game where you're not coming from behind by a large amount and you have to throw. They didn't really they didn't have to throw by the score, but they had to throw by the way they were seeing the UTSA defense. And, I just think about you play like this on offense, it's going to be tough to beat Tulane. You got to be better. You just got to be better. So
I will say one last thing about the offense. It almost feels like they are making the early season errors that I would expect to see in the first 3 or 4 games of the year that we didn't see because we were playing so well early on. I mean, Noah Short with that bobbled pitch. I mean, that's not something I expect to see in the 11th game of the season. And, Daly, I don't think he has been throwing the ball enough to be making the best reads on who he needs to be throwing to. It happened once or twice against Notre Dame. We mentioned it earlier today that there were some plays where you had guys who were wide open. I don't know if it's a good thing that we're seeing those mistakes kind of happening now, but Air Force, North Texas, obviously Notre Dame, and then today, it's like this is the first real competition, the first times we've really had to kind of dig deep, especially today, to come from behind. So I'm heartened to see that because there's still a lot of football to be played. And let's go ahead and get those mistakes out now. It sounds crazy to say that we're going into the AAC championship, but I really do feel that way, that I feel like we are still going to be getting better. And the future's so bright, I got to wear shades.
Let's get to some comments. Solid analysis of the adjustment against fantastic defensive effort. Cuthbert gets from James Sartell. And John Griffin says the low temperature seemed to affect catches and some handoffs. I don't think so. I don't think that that's a factor. That's just me. I mean, not having played a college down my life, but I think that you gotta. I don't think the short fumble was a perfect pitch in stride for him. No. Should he have gathered it? Yes. So that's what I'll say there. He says UTSA dropped passes. Okay. I thought that the coverage was pretty. Did UTSA drop open when they were wide open passes today? I don't recall.
I don't remember any of that.
No more so than Army did. I mean, I will say it didn't really seem, I think a lot of people were expecting Army to have an advantage in the cold today, and it just seemed like the cold was equally affecting both teams. So, not necessarily encouraging for what's coming Friday night. We're all going to freeze to death.
We should take that into account, though, that the UTSA has not won a game away from the Alamo Dome, which, of course, a dome stadium in perfect conditions. And here they're coming up to New York, playing in temperature they're not used to playing. The same is going to be true for Tulane. They play outdoors too. And if it's going to be a cold night, which I'm going to guess it is, I'm going to guess we'll probably see temperatures in the 30s or maybe lower. That might have
going to be below freezing.
Yeah, that might affect it. They were talking about the NFL game, the Packers and the Dolphins. How the cold weather, which wasn't that cold in Green Bay, I think it was 28 degrees. We're used to that up here. It affected the Dolphins. That could be that.
How's that relevant to this game?
It could happen. It could happen with Tulane again. It happened. I think it might have happened here. I think it might have hurt them a little bit. And as Ben Davis is saying, the colder the better. I think that helps Army. I think the weather. I think it's going to help Army. So we'll see what happens.
Real quick, the kicker for UTSA in pregame was out in a sleeves cut off shirt and shorts, and they had two linemen. I don't know if they were offensive or defense. They were big dudes that walked past the south end zone when they were doing their little warm-up laps without wearing anything. They were shirtless in 30-degree weather, trying to maybe intimidate Army football players. I saw one Army football player just kind of laugh that they didn't have it, that they were going on there. They were trying to show that, hey, the cold weather is not going to affect us today. And it didn't. They played pretty well. Jeff Traylor said at his Monday press conference earlier this week that if he could bring the Alamo Dome up to West Point, he would fly it up, but he couldn't. So here they are. They had to play in the elements. They had to play in the quote environment, which was, Army. There were 22,000 fans there today. There were no Corps cadets there for Army. They were on leave for Thanksgiving holiday. So that it was a little different atmosphere there at West Point, but regardless, it's a win. We appreciate everybody watching right now. We have our numbers are growing. We have over 600 people watching right now. If you're watching right now and you have any comments or questions, please feel free to hit us up. Liam Fortner's catch was amazing today. It was his first catch of the year. It went for 28 yards. Just a great catch. But I thought when I saw it from the press box, I'm like, Seth, that was one of the best catches of the year. Certainly for Army.
We were all shocked he caught it. It was a fantastic catch.
Let's see. We got James Sartell saying, could you explain the bowl situation? Cuthbert, you want to have Brendan, you want to take that over?
However low the odds are, the playoff is still dangling out there to a degree. We really got to just wait and see for all of the everything to land in its place. We do know they're going to play a postseason game after Navy. That's all we really know for sure.
Yeah, and the Independence Bowl rep was at Mikey Stadium today. I think they were even at the press conference. UNLV's winning 31-7 right now. That's a key game. UNLV is ranked ahead of Army in the CFP. So they will not play in the Mountain West Championship. I'm confused. It's Boise State versus who?
It's UNLV against Boise State.
I thought Colorado State might be in the mix for that.
If UNLV loses, Colorado State gets in.
Okay.
UNLV wins. I'm checking the standings right now to confirm that.
So do you think that Army gets back into the CFP by beating UTSA?
I think they'll be back in the ratings, but whether it actually means anything, probably not.
Yeah, because then they have to, it doesn't matter because they'll be behind UNLV, right? And if UNLV wins, they'll move up in the college football playoff rankings. If they lose, Boise State gets a spot, right? So we need
UNLV to lose tonight and then to beat Boise in the championship, and then we beat Tulane, and we are the 5th conference auto bid. That's our only path in.
Yeah, and
I think
UNLV's
that's very slim.
Yeah, 31-7 they're up, and it's pretty crazy that, to me, I was having a conversation with a former Army player before the game. And so Dylan Gabriel of Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, said it a million times. He was originally committed to Army, right? Haj Malik Williams, the UNLV quarterback, was at Army Prep and went to Campbell after Army Prep. You have 2 guys that are directly, not so much Gabriel, but Haj Malik Williams, who, the destiny is in the hands of certain people. And it's kind of crazy the talent that Army will get, either committed or even to Army Prep, that may not play at West Point or may play a year at West Point transfer. Who knows? I don't know why I got on that tangent, but so that's pretty much the CFP. And if not, it's looking like the Independence Bowl, probably. That's the likely landing spot.
Well, there's some other bowls. I'm looking at the schedule here. We're going to go back to UNLV for a second. They did not play Colorado State this year, so that means it goes to the higher-ranked team in the CFP. They have the same tiebreaker system that they're both going to finish with the same record. So, Colorado State, UNLV's beating up Nevada, which isn't very good. And Colorado State beat somebody yesterday, if I could find this.
Yeah.
So my guess is they'll stay ahead of them. Therefore, they'll get into the bowl game against Boise. And UNLV has 2 losses. Boise has 1. If UNLV beats them, I guess they would jump over us. There is another scenario. There's one more scenario. It's a long shot. But if Army beats Tulane and beats them by a lot, there is a slight possibility at a large spot. Very slight, because the Big 12 is a mess. And there might be one other spot open. It's very doubtful, but there is a chance there.
They would never give it to a group of 5 school. They would never do that.
Well, the Big
Give
12
Army an at-large.
So
Army will get it out because they're actually they'll be ahead of the Big 12. And I was listening to it on the radio yesterday. It's a lot has to happen, so let's not go there. I also understand, going back to the bowls, the Independence Bowl desperately wants Army, but other bowl games have made it clear that a team that goes 11-1, or actually 12-1, though the bowls go out before the Navy game, everybody wants that team. So I think Army might have a pick of the litter here if they do beat Tulane. And then the bowls come out before the Navy game. So who knows? Something like the Gator Bowl or the Sun Bowl or something like that could enter into the equation. Fenway, I know the Fenway Bowl wants West Point. The Pinstripe Bowl, which I don't think Army wants a cold weather bowl, but they want them. They want them.
Another game in the baseball stadium. Another one.
No thanks.
Fenway's the same.
I will say I think we should all just take a breath right now and celebrate the fact that Army has their 4th 10-win season in program history, 3rd under Jeff Monken, and really since college went to 11 games a year in the mid 70s. I mean, that's really like kind of the reasonable time frame to go back to looking at a 10-win season. But just an unbelievable job that Monken has done in his tenure, and then especially this season, and just always trying to get better, even if it doesn't always work out. Looking back to last season, couldn't ask for somebody better in charge. And this team, the senior leadership, Bryson Daly's a beast and is writing his name in red all over the record book in ways that I couldn't have anticipated coming into the season. So, if they beat Tulane, it's gravy. To me, the Navy game is still more important. But we're all given the state of the program 20 years ago, this is just incredible to be here.
Just like Steve Miller says, right? We're playing a conference championship game next week in the first season of being in the conference. After 50 years as a fan, this is unbelievable. Best season ever so far. And you know what, Coach Monken, Seth, you might have asked it, or somebody asked it. Did he see this season coming? You're coming off a 6-6 year. Did you see it in April? Did you see it in the preseason? He said that he just wanted to have a good week of practice in the preseason. He said that he just wanted to go 1-0 against Lehigh. And there's a little coach speaking that, but there's some truth into that too, where this team has bought in. Like I thought I heard like one of the players say something like, maybe it was Colin Madison actually say, there was a little bit of bad taste in our mouth. We didn't do what we want to do on a national stage against Notre Dame, and we had a little something to prove in this game, in the UTSA game, and they certainly did. Real quick, I had a real quick on the field interview with Cody Weineker, one of the Army captains, after the game, and to watch Cody Weineker after the game, he must have spent a good 5 minutes just hugging people that watched him play. I think his whole town in Maryland might have came out and watched him play today. He was hugging, he was shaking hands, he was taking pictures. For Cody Weineker, who was an Army football player, then maybe had some struggles at West Point, was sent to Fort Drum. He was a a corporal in the Army at one time, serving for a year plus in Fort Drum before he came back to West Point. And to see like him captain this team, one of four captain this 10-1 team. And if you ask Coach Monken, he's the guy. Cody Weineker is the guy that he goes to when he wants the pulse of the team. Basically, he's almost like he's a little bit older than some of the other guys, right? He's been through a little bit more. He's seen a little bit more out there beyond West Point, and he's really the leadership of Cody Weineker and the three other captains too. Max, can't say enough about Max DiDomenico. I thought that guy's season was in peril last week at Notre Dame. I thought he was really banged up, and he's gutting out games, and he is playing. He's playing some of the hardest he has all season in this game against UTSA. Kyle Lewis unfortunately was lost to a knee injury, but he's still in the locker room. I saw Andre Miller wearing Kyle Lewis's 95 warm-up jersey in pregame. These guys are – sometimes you say they use the brotherhood maybe a little too much, but you can see it this year. You just get a feeling that this team doesn't have superstars. This team doesn't have guys that are doing dances in the doing dances in the end zone. They don't have a lot of showboating. They're just all business.
I will say, I had said earlier that I felt like this was almost a season-saving win because after Notre Dame, if we come out and lay an egg, that we could very easily, it could be like Pitt, who started 7-0 and have dropped 5 straight. You know what I mean? When that video gets out on social media today of Jeff Monken, Coach Monken crowd surfing in the locker room as everyone is going absolutely wild. I mean, I think you're right, Sal, that I maybe the brotherhood thing, maybe that's kind of overworked a little bit, but you can't tell me that these guys, that they don't love each other. You know what I mean? And that they're not completely invested in this team and the success. Bryson Daly coming out for the post game. He looks warforged. He's covered in blood. It's just, this was a huge win for the team. Not because UTSA is great, not because it was a blowout, not because they executed perfectly, but just what this win means right now for this season. They knew they had to win to get the home field advantage over Tulane. They're coming in, they're beaten up. They've had more injuries in the last 7 days than they had in the previous 7 weeks. And they're coming in and they're having guys having to fill in, and they stepped up. They stepped up when they needed to. They got the W, 1-0 every week. That's the only thing that matters. Now I'm doing the coach speak, but I really am like, there's something happening here. I feel good about it.
Let's go back to last year. They were 2-6. They just got beaten by LSU. Was it 62-0, I think? Okay. We were sitting there saying, oh my God, what's happened to the Army football program? Well, they won 4 games in a row last year. They've won 10 out of 11 games this year, losing to one of the best 5 schools in the country at this point, it seems like. Notre Dame, they won again today. Inexplicably, they lost to Northern Illinois, but okay, they won again today, and they're in the national picture right now. And they're doing it with not as much talent, as Monken says every week, as their competition. And I agree with that to some degree. I think Bryson Daly is as good as any quarterback in the country, or almost any quarterback in the country. But you know what I mean by that, okay? So they're doing it because of that brotherhood. They're doing it because they're playing like a team. And you see that defensively, and, you see it offensively. Look at the offensive line, what they've done. Not so much today, but they did, they still blocked from passing wise. The running game wasn't as good, but this is a team that's come together. It's a special squad. Somebody talks about 50 years of a fan. I've been a fan for 60 years, or almost 60 years. And I'm telling you right now, sorry, Sal, I got to get that in there.
Please make it quick, Seth. We want to get to these comments.
Real quick. I've been a fan for 60 years. This is one of the best teams, not the best team I've seen at West Point, because of that brotherhood, not because of talent, but because of the way they play together.
Yeah, real quick, Mike Fulowski says any updates on the injuries? A little banged up on the defensive line wise. We know that Kyle Lewis is out for the season. Coach Munkin said that after the Notre Dame game. Doesn't look good for Cody Harris Miller. I believe he was on crutches today. So I don't know if it's an ankle or knee. If it's a knee, that probably means the season. If it's an ankle, that maybe he could get back, but I don't know if it's likely for Cody Harris Miller. I could be wrong. And then in the game, two of the Army defensive linemen collided. I believe it was Andre Miller and Jacob Tuioti, and they were down. And you're like, man, where are they going if these guys can't come back? Miller and Tuioti did come back and play. They got DeShantez Gray back today. He's been a little banged up. He's a guy that was in the defensive rotation at defensive end earlier this season. They could really use some snaps out of DeShantez Gray to keep that rotation going and keeping those defensive line fresh. And Cody Weineker is mixing in that with at nose tackle with Tuioti, and they're making it work. Trey Sophia was playing defensive end today. He got some pressures on the quarterback too. So yeah, Van Davis, I just said that. Good point there. Max is incredible. All the players are still fighting and playing hard. Yeah, I mean if you're not an Army football fan and you just watch this team play a game like this, especially against UTSA, I don't know how you don't just really admire their effort, admire their play. These are like the Army-Navy games. A game like this seemed like the Army-Navy game where they fight tooth and nail to the end and they pull out a victory. I got a little Service Academy feel out of this game, even though UTSA was on the other sidelines. And that's what it's going to take to beat Tulane. That's what it's going to take to beat Navy again. That's what it's going to take to win a bowl game. And if this team can win out and get 13 wins, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. They're capable. They're capable. Let's see if they can do it next week. Let's see if they can beat Tulane. Maybe, guys, keep the comments going. We're going to be on here for about another 10 minutes. But let's talk about this Tulane matchup. And, watching Tulane on Thursday night against Memphis, I think I'm going to be honest. I think I caught the second half. I didn't watch the entire game on Thanksgiving. But Memphis, they definitely had a little bit of kryptonite there for Tulane. And Memphis spread them out a little bit and was able to score on them. And, watching that game, I'm thinking, okay, they're beatable. They're not this. Munkin called them the best team in the conference today in the post-game press conference. Well, Memphis beat them. Maybe Memphis is one of the best teams in the conference too, but I don't know. It'll be a test for Army, but it's not a game that I don't think they can't win. So I don't know what you guys think about the Tulane matchup.
Well, I mean, Tulane only lost to Kansas State, ranked 17, Oklahoma 15, and of course Memphis, which is ranked now, I think 24, 25, somewhere around there. They beat up on Navy, they beat up on the teams they're supposed to beat up on. Looking at the schedule, some of the games were close. I saw a good team out there that seemed to disintegrate against a high-pressure Memphis team. And again, I'll bring up the fact that they're coming up north, a cold night. That's not going to help them. They play in the warm South most of their games. I don't think they played one game north at Navy. I guess I don't know what the weather was there, but so I think we have a shot, but we have to come up with a game plan, and that's one thing I've seen is that every game there's a little bit of different game plan, and it's worked except for, of course, Notre Dame.
I watched almost all of the game against Memphis this past week. Memphis runs what it couldn't be a more different offensive style than Army. It's 100% shotgun. It's very fast. It's very explosive. It's high rep as opposed to Army's much slower, much more time of possession, ball control. Speaking of which, we did have 40 minutes time of possession today. I just wanted to get that in there. Yeah. I didn't have a chance to throw that in earlier, but another big one. So when they played, I mean, obviously the closest analog is going to be Navy, even though Army and Navy's offenses are not particularly similar. They're more similar to each other than, say, relative to Memphis. What was really interesting about that Navy game, I mean, Tulane won 35-0, which is obviously a clearly dominant win. And I watched most of that game as well. And what I saw, and that was an afternoon game. It was in Annapolis. It was not particularly cold. I don't know how impactful the weather will be, but regardless, that game, it wasn't that Tulane just came out and beat the brakes off of Navy. It's that Tulane was 15 to 20% better. And so at the end of the first quarter, they were winning 7-0. And at halftime, they were winning 14-0. And going into the second half, you got the sense that Tulane was in control, but at 14-0, the game was far from decided. And then the second half, things really started to get away, and they ended up winning 35-0. So Tulane's got a very powerful offense between Mensa and I can't think of the other playmaker's name right now. But if Army can stay close, if we can stay close, we can go into halftime, either tied or down close or up close, something like that. I think this could very easily be a winnable game for us.
Yeah, their running back Hughes has 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. But when I was watching in the second half, I didn't really notice him those much, to be honest with you. So I think that's, the game's out there certainly to win. Brendan, what are your thoughts on the Tulane matchup?
I think other than Notre Dame, this is probably the toughest matchup all year. That said, I think today against UTSA was probably a good dress rehearsal, as it was. Work out some kinks, put some things on film that you got to work on. Hopefully have a good week of practice. And I think Tulane talent-wise is kind of like an ultra version of Army. And, I've said this, I'm sure I've said this before, but there's not too many teams that Jeff Monken has faced multiple times since coming to Army and not gotten a victory against, and Tulane's one of them. And another one is Troy, and Tulane picked up Troy's coach in the offseason. So this would just be an incredible storybook ending, certainly to the home slate at Mikey of the season, but for the season overall as well.
Yeah, I think that Tulane is 4-0 against Army when in the Jeff Monken era. I think I'm saying that very softly. So offense was more balanced if they stack the box like Notre Dame and UTSA, throw over the top, keep the defensives honest. And Ben Davis is Tulane plays ball control and time possession game like us. We must do it better than them. Yeah, I mean that's what I thought today was going to be too. UTSA win the time of possession, and keep the ball out of UTSA's quarterback's hands a little bit. I think he only threw the ball not 28 times. I mean, 28 times is decent, but not what probably they wanted today, and it worked. Guys, we really appreciate you checking us out. We have over 1,000 viewers right now, which is crazy. Thanks so much for everyone watching. Seth Mendelson's game story will be on Black Knight Nation sooner or later. We'll put that up there.
You have it in 10 minutes.
I'm gonna write some stuff on Trey Granati and Colin Madison, I think, for like sidebars and stuff. And check out our Instagram, our Black Knight Nation Instagram. We had a person taking video on the field for us today, and we have the fourth down stand. We have Liam Fortner's catch. We have Tyrell Robinson's touchdown. We have that all on video, on a reel, on our Instagram. So thanks, YouTube. We really appreciate you guys watching. Last week's Notre Dame recap got over 2,300 views, the most that we've had on a recap in a long time. So we're hoping that you guys continue to watch us. We'll be on next week with the Tulane recap of the AAC game. We're not going to be coming to you at 1 or 2 in the morning on Friday night, but we'll get to you on Saturday as soon as we can with a review of that. Man, can't thank Seth Mendelson, Cuthbert Hutton, and Brendan and Jersey enough for being on this podcast. Really appreciate it. Maybe we will even preview. I think we already previewed the Tulane game, so we'll probably see you next time with a review. Ben Davis, thanks for watching. We appreciate your comments, and we'll see you guys soon again on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Have a good night.
Beat 'em.